We are collectively together in a moment, and this moment before us is posing challenges to the well-being of children and families beyond what has been seen in certainly in recent years. Children's rights are being tested and challenged, and in some cases curtailed. And it is within the courts where rights are both defined and where they can be defended, and then ideally also expanded so that the well-being of children and families, that they are able to thrive and have the supports that they need. So these challenges to the rights of children are happening across multiple systems in the public education context, in unaccompanied children who are in federal immigration custody, and in many, many other areas, which we'll talk about in just a moment. And families, children, are often without means or mechanisms to defend themselves within public systems and agencies, and families, often who are trying their very best, may not have the leverage to be able to ensure that their children are protected. And then there are some children who are not situated within a family able to protect them. And so that is where our work comes in to when systems are failing them. So what is happening now is happening again across multiple systems. And the impact of systemic failures, of cutting back of benefits, things like healthcare, of food assistance, of access to Head Start, and access to things like the Office for Civil Rights within the Department of Education, just places where people have gone to or relied on for help, for support during difficult times. It's like across so many different systems and domains where the rights and well-being of children are really under attack. And so this is causing trauma. It's often life-changing trauma, and dignity, impacting the dignity and well-being. And so here we are in the midst of us, all of us navigating this together. And here we'll begin to explore the power of litigation to protect children. So why is litigation important? Ideally, you'd have government that is like of, by, and for the people and working to serve people. But when those guardrails are not in place, litigation is a way to enforce rights and ensure that values, like core American values, are represented, and the rights that are afforded to our people of this country. Litigation enforces what policy promises. One can get a law can get passed, but if that law is not implemented and honored, then those benefits or those rights are not then enjoyed or experienced by the people who are intended to be protected. It also creates binding protections that are not based on any one administration or any political party. They are a compact between, the government and the people. And for children, litigation is often one of the only tools that turns what should be into what must be. So our organization, National Center for Youth Law, was founded in the 1970s as a law firm, a public interest law firm, and now we engage in comprehensive advocacy, including multiple different strategies, and litigation is the core tool that we use to fight for children and families. For over 50 years, we have been able to achieve, in partnership with communities, with our clients, our heroic and brave clients, we've been able to achieve significant legal victories in the areas of public education, in the child welfare and foster care system, in health, juvenile justice, immigration, and beyond. And we work across all of the systems that impact children. And litigation is part of a holistic approach to reform, including policy advocacy, including youth leadership, research, communications, public agency partnerships, as well as narrative change. And so now we'll share examples of impact from the litigation that we've been engaging in. So here we'll go over a number of cases, and we are joined today by Neha, who is a leader of this incredibly important work. So there are children unaccompanied who are in federal immigration custody. And there is a case, Flores, that was filed decades ago and really set the standard for how how children in federal immigration custody should be treated. And the children within custody are, range in age, but are as young as toddlers. And it's a pivotal case that Nickel has been working on enforcing over many years. And this Angelica, this was actually filed just in 2025, just recently, the second case here. Challenges the federal policies that are being changed in a process that is unlawful, and preventing families from getting their children out of custody. And so you see children who have a parent who wishes to pick them up and get them out of custody, but who is encountering, newly erected roadblocks and barriers. And we filed litigation to challenge this the practice that emerged this year, and have prevailed in part. That has enabled children to be reunited with parents and with caregivers after having languished in custody for sometimes months, not knowing why, why no one is coming to pick them up to get them, not knowing if anyone ever would. It's just an incredibly important victory. And then more recently, over Labor Day weekend, the government tried to, over Labor Day weekend, actually, and in the middle of the night, to send unaccompanied children, Guatemalan children, some of them as young as 10 years old, back to Guatemala without due process, which is upending, upending laws that have been in place for a very, very long time to protect children. And we, along with our partners and on behalf of our clients, took action and were able to stop this from happening. The children were actually boarded on an airplane in the middle of the night, crying and terrified, not knowing what was happening to them. And for now, we were able to prevent this from proceeding. So here you'll see an example of someone who is describing what the conditions under which children are existing in custody. Children are not allowed to have toys or even crayons. When they do obtain something, the staff confiscate them. And even something as small as rocks that children find on the ground to play with are taken from them. Next slide, please. And here, a mother, I'll read her description, describes what is happening to her and her baby. She says, I have asked repeatedly for boiled or bottled water for my daughter's powdered baby formula, but they will not give it to me. They told me using tap water was fine, but now my baby is having horrible diarrhea, and it has been going on for 3 days. And this is something that we continue to advocate for and push for, just basic safe water. Um, and it shouldn't come to, this should not be an issue that needs to be litigated, but in far too many instances, there is no other mechanism to get change in how people are being treated. The lack of care, the lack of compassion, the lack of dignity, basic human dignity. So one of the things that these provide examples of is our, as an organization, belief that it is critical through the courts and through litigations to center the voices and experiences of the children who are being most directly impacted, so that the court it contends with the actual experience of children. And so this is an example of us doing that with this quote, presenting it to the court. Next slide, please. And here are two cases that of nickel cases related to public education in the state of Oregon. There is a far too common practice of sending students who have disabilities home early, instead of allowing them to attend the full school day and have appropriate supports. So there were instances of children only being allowed to attend school, for instance, for an hour and a half due to their disability, and just a failure to take any action to remedy this. And many of the children were in kindergarten as young as 5 years old. And being excluded on the basis from school on the basis of their disability. And this case has already led to a new state law being passed, and we are in ongoing, we continue to be in court related to this case. Also this year, we filed a case challenging the U.S. Department of Education's closure of offices for civil rights. Those are offices that families had been able to go to for support if their child was being discriminated against in school. And it's one of the very few places where people can go, regardless of income, for help. They may not be able to hire an attorney, right? But they were able to go to OCR for support. And so students, we filed this challenge to the closure of these offices, and this case continues to ensure that every child, the goal is, of course, is to ensure that every child's able to access public education and not be discriminated against. And here are some examples of other cases. We have a case ongoing, MJ, that focuses on children with mental health disabilities and who are not getting the community-based services they need that are critical to their well-being. And many of our clients could have been identified for help as young as 6 years old. But instead of receiving help, are facing unnecessary and harmful institutionalization. And this has lifelong consequences for children. And then just recently, this case, Adams County, is in Colorado. There are children whose parents are incarcerated or jailed, and they are not allowed to visit their parents. And any contact with them they must pay money to talk to their parent by phone or video, and that is impossible for some families. And so we are taking legal action, fighting to restore these children's rights to see and hug their parents. We have plaintiffs' children who are just 4, 6, and 9 years old. And here is, again, us elevating the direct impact on a 9-year-old child. I'll read it to you. Seeing my dad in person is very important to me. If we could have visits, I could talk to him more about how I'm feeling and make sure he's okay too. I worry about him a lot, and it makes it worse to not be able to see him. If I could see him in person, I would say all the private stuff I want to say, but can't say on the phone. I would give him a big hug and probably suffocate him with my love. And the next slide is a 6-year-old who wishes to see their parent and says, I want the rules guy to change the rules so kids can hug their dads more. And their experiences and their perspectives matter and matter greatly. And so we are challenging this to ensure that they are able to spend time with and hug their parents. Thank you. Next slide. And so here are two cases that occurred within the child welfare context. We filed both of these cases over the last several years, but something that's critically important with litigation is the implementation. So you can obtain a wonderful remedy through the court, right? But we must see that these reforms are implemented in order for the changes to actually reach the people, the directly impacted people. So here in MB, it's, we filed this case in Kansas where children in the foster system, some literally as young as 3 years old, were being shuffled between offices and hotels, were not being placed in homes or with foster families. And the traumatic impact of this is just profound. And we are monitoring now this implementation of the very powerful remedy that was secured to ensure that the state is taking steps to provide stable placements as well as mental health support to every child in the foster system, especially the young children. And then the case in Missouri, is one where children, even as young as 2 and 3 years old, children who are in foster care, were being given psychotropic drugs excessively and without proper oversight. That is incredibly dangerous and causes harm to those children beyond what most of us can understand. And so we are deep in implementation of this settlement that requires independent review of the drugs being given to children in foster care and to ensure that there are safeguards in place to protect each and every child. And things we're looking forward to. So in July, HHS issued a notice that redefined the meaning of federal public benefit. The proposed change threatens access to both Head Start and to community health centers for hundreds of thousands of immigrant families and children. So far, there have been 2 temporary injunctions, one a nationwide order on Head Start and the redefinition of public benefit, and the other on the community health centers order that affects only 21 states. So we are planning action to support the Head Start litigation with an amicus brief. And we are also in dialogue with parents affected by the community health centers rule in the 29 states that are not covered by the injunction. And those are just 2 examples of work that is on the horizon and underway. And so the urgency of this work is real and now. There, as you are all aware, there are really dire harms and risks that are unfolding. And um, the way that children are being left, you know, and their families are being left in vulnerable and unstable situations, and those who are already being struggled pushed aside. This the need to act is now. There is still opportunity to take action and to challenge these some of these unjust policies and what's unfolding. But delay is not in any of our interests. Children's rights are being redefined and curtailed in real time. And when those things take effect and are not challenged, we are then living under these kind of rubrics for decades. And it shapes the entire future of our nation and everyone within it. So just to a few things to kind of transition us into dialogue. Um, Although children's rights are vulnerable now at a level, unprecedented in recent history, this is also a moment of extraordinary possibility. And by supporting this work, we can not only protect the rights of children, but there are also opportunities to expand rights and to put forth, the affirmative vision of, dignity and a society in which every child is able to thrive and has dignity. And we're able to do that regardless of the context in which we're operating. Philanthropy can help turn the tide and invest in work that responds to the harm, but doesn't just respond to the harm, also helps to reimagine systems and how they support people, how they support children and families. Their litigation is also a very powerful complement to the multiple strategies that many are funding, and looking at those opportunities for work to happen in tandem is really quite an opportunity. And also, like, investments in things like youth justice or family integrity, or access to care, to health care, has a compounding impact. And it both protects children now, as well as shapes and throughout their entire lifetime, as well as shapes what's possible and what future generations will have and experience in their lifetimes. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Shakti, for that overview. Even having done some learning about some of the work that you're doing, I'm still startled by some of the cases that you shared. So we're just going to pause for a moment to end our recording, and then we'll open up for conversation.